Hi, everyone. I'm Cohen at AV Master. Today I have a very special guest. So welcome aboard to actually your digital living room powered by Microsoft Teams. Say hi, everyone, to Bokshtiin. It's good
Fiat.
morning. Hi. It's good morning to you in Seattle. Good evening to us here in Israel. Um, a short congrats is in order for you getting the new title of VP Teams Calling and Devices. Could you share a little bit?
Sure. Thanks for taking the time with me, Aviad. So up until yesterday, I was the VP of Teams Devices, which means I led all of our product areas around the purpose-built version of Teams for purpose-built devices like Microsoft Teams Rooms, Teams Desk Phones, Teams Hall panels, displays, and so forth. And now I also have been asked and have the privilege of leading the Teams Phone product area, which is our enterprise grade cloud calling, cloud PBX solution. So leading that product area and the business overall.
Okay, so again, congrats.
Thank you.
I think we're meeting in a couple of weeks or so in Barcelona at ISE. Would be first time for me to meet you in person, which would be pretty awesome. Um, I'm here to ask you because the MTR has been on a huge, one would call a huge leap. And last 2 years, we saw a lot of working from home. So it was obviously Microsoft Teams for people. And I know from previous interviews you had from what I was following up, your platform was booming. It has gone up a lot with users, and the MTR concept was there, but it wasn't felt until the end of the first or second wave. I think that we saw that we are returning to the office. The user experience that is Microsoft should take an expression within those rooms. And it's funny because I look at IC Integrated Systems Europe. Um, it was set up mainly for AV guys, and then the UC came in, and then the AV-IT era began, and now it's something that it's called workspaces or hybrid workspaces. I feel some guys at the AV industry are looking at the MTR and saying, this is pushing us aside, but I look at it as a huge opportunity to create that amazing user interface. And going into ISE, could you share a little bit what kind of influences did the COVID and the reshaping of working had on the MTR, and how would they take form at ISE?
Sure. I think at its very basic, all of us who work on audio and video, AV, should see what has happened as a huge responsibility and a huge opportunity, because audio and video are now at the forefront of how the world works. What's happened in the last 2 years is we went from in-person communications as the norm, and the need for AV is the exception, effectively, to talking, working, connecting to each other through some form of cloud-based audio and video. That's the norm. And so I think it's an incredibly exciting time, just a massive amount of transformation. I think the last time I was at ISE, we had talked with customers and partners and analysts about, over the next decade, video will hopefully finally become prevalent. Well, 2 to 3 years later, I don't, it's there. We're done. Video is everywhere. So when I look at what we went through, we of course focused on the Teams desktop and mobile application first, because as we all went home for the pandemic, we needed to massively transform that experience. We went from an average of, I think, 2 to 3 people in a meeting to lots more. So we needed to expand how many videos we could show. We've dramatically evolved the user experience. When I actually look at some pictures of Teams from pre-pandemic and what I'm using now, it's almost hard to actually recognize it in terms of the controls that we have, the capabilities that we have, the background blur and replacement, things like together mode, things that are coming soon that I can't even talk about yet, but I'm in our ring zero, our developer builds. And so I'm enjoying seeing some of the things we're working on. So we really focused on that personal need first, but then, as you said, people started going back to the office. And when I think about our imperatives for when I had the privilege of coming up with the concept that has become Microsoft Teams Rooms, we had a very, very simple goal. My goal, the way I wrote it down in the initial framing document, was make it faster and easier to join video meetings than to dial into an audio conference call. That was the goal. Most rooms had a phone, and people would dial into audio conference calls, and everyone would do who's in the room, and you'd hear that tone. And I think, at the risk of coming off as maybe a little bragging, I think we've for the most part met that bar. Having that single touch join, the proximity based join, now the Teams cast capability, I think we've met that bar for, instead of minutes, joining video meetings in seconds. What we heard when people started coming back to the office, though, was, and now we've got to raise the bar. We are all pretty used to each having our own tile of video with our name, with an indication when we're speaking. And all of a sudden, there was this amazing flip to, but when we're in a room together, we should kind of feel sort of advantaged because we're in person, but we're actually disadvantaged because we have one shared tile of video and you can't see our names. And so what we're working on, based on customer feedback, is the audio intelligence, video intelligence in MTR together with our partners to add all of those other elements for this hybrid work world where everyone feels more included in meetings, whether you're remote or in a room. As much as possible, we're trying to erase some of those hard edges and differences. So then coming back to your question about what does this mean for AV, I think it's a massive opportunity also because the V in AV will now be in every space. That is what customers are telling us. Whereas previously it was like, yeah, maybe, our boardroom, 10% of our rooms would have video. It's, look, when people come back to the office, if what they find is a phone, they may not come back again. It just doesn't work.
I would agree. I remember, phone booths. Phone booths. That was a concept like 5-6 years ago. Did we need video? I don't know. This is not. And right now it's like at the base level, a C930 by Logi, and I like either I'm going to invest in a Hudley or a P15 by Poly, or just throw whatever you got it because everything has to be video enabled. Every last thing. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. I think that's an accomplishment. And I think the more robust and more intuitive any platform would be, the more the merrier, the more we're going to get of it.
Yeah, and that's something that, just even putting my Microsoft hat aside for a sec, for those of us that have worked in collaboration and communications for a while, that's kind of the dream that's now here. I was chatting with Oded, the chief product officer at Zoom, and we've both been working on video for a while. To see video go everywhere is amazing. And so I hope that all of the folks at ISC are as excited as we are to see that part of it. And then to take that next leg of the journey and say, how do we make the experience better and richer and more intelligent? Because how we work has changed. And so the bar has gone up. So it's not only video everywhere, still a big opportunity, but then better video, better collaboration, digital whiteboarding, co-creation, again, in every space.
Amazing. Ilya, I'm really hoping I'm getting like an NDA announcement after this video is over. Oh my God, I am hoping on that. I love these, but that's a couple of weeks. I'm gonna hold my breath. What can you share that is going to come into ISE? Will we have things like the next gen HoloLens. You know, that was like a huge fantasy a few years ago, and then it started shrinking device-wise. And I think we're going to see, you know, I'm positive we're going to see a hologram from other, you know, platforms. That's going to be pretty awesome. You know, and I think that's next level. But how does Microsoft, you know, what are you guys going to announce that you can share at ISE, and what's the game plan at ISE? How does that work? You know, like better or more intense collaboration with other partners, you know, customers. How does that work?
Well, first and foremost, our focus at ISE is to meet with customers. It's just such an amazing opportunity for folks across EMEA, Europe, Middle East, Africa. It's the premier conference for that geography for everyone thinking about AV, UC, all sort of workspace technologies. So I'm personally excited. I think my agenda is pretty packed with customer meetings and partner meetings, like morning to evening. And so I'm excited about that. At our booth, our goal is to demonstrate and highlight kind of all of our solution areas across the various collaboration spaces. So we have a meeting room in kind of multiple meeting room setups to show how more traditional meeting rooms can be enhanced, and our vision for front row focused rooms. Front row is our hybrid meeting centric layout that we introduced in Teams Rooms. I think with customers, we'll be talking about some of the things we've said is coming very soon to front row to make it even better. We did what we call a V1. We marked it as preview of front row very early this calendar year. We've gotten a ton of feedback, so we're making some layout changes. I'm excited about bringing loop components to front row, spatial audio, the ability. You know, one of the things we heard is tiring is when you look at a gallery of people, actually all the different backgrounds are mentally somewhat tiring to process. And so again, as a way of making everyone sort of equal and included, segmenting out the background so that everyone is just on an equal black background as if they were sitting in the room with you. That's something else that's coming. We're going to be also, though, talking about other spaces like hot desks. Certainly, I'm guessing customers are saying the same thing to you, but many of our customers are rethinking personal space. You know, if you're going to come into the office, the main reason to be there is to meet with other people. And so the kind of need to like sit at my desk to do what you and I are doing is lowered. And so a lot of customers are looking at hot desking. There's a lot of additional needs that come with that, like panels or displays that can lead you to a hot desk or tell you what desk is reserved. We always think about the lunch hour scenario. If I leave for the lunch hour and come back, is my hot desk sort of gone to someone else? So focus spaces, collaboration spaces, really excited to showcase Teams on Surface Hub, but also Teams on Android, Teams Rooms Android touch screens like the Neat Board, for example, and other devices. And so on that note, really excited to showcase our pretty rich, deep, we think broadest ecosystem of partner hardware in the industry within our booth and also jointly within their booths. And hopefully, from my perspective, just learn from customers about what they're looking for us. So as we share our vision with them, they get to tell us how that resonates and what we should be doing. And by the way, ISE, while super important, not the only event happening. We have Microsoft Build happening soon. So some of the AI things you've talked about and the mesh in Teams, I'll just say stay tuned for Build.
Be more than happy to get those announcements from you and or locally in Israel. That would be always awesome. You spoke about the spatial audio for our viewers who are less familiar with it. I've experienced it. I think it's by Dolby, if I remember correctly. No, nope. Not this time. All right. But the idea was...
I will say we're partnering with Dolby. I happen to be using right now a ThinkPad X1 Carbon, where Lenovo has a great partnership with Dolby. So we want to enable folks like Dolby to do their processing. The spatial audio I mentioned, you can think of as more positional audio in rooms. So very simply, if you picture front row where you have content, you have maybe some additional information on the sides, and you have gallery along the bottom. If Ilya is on the right side and speaking, mentally, it actually helps if the sound is coming from where Ilya is, so you can look in that direction. And if Aviad's speaking on the left, the sound changes that way. So that's what we're working on for meeting rooms, is to connect the sound output to the gallery location of people in that display.
I think it's an extremely important, I wouldn't say feature, I couldn't call it feature anymore, because if you have experienced spatial audio in a meeting, I have, and it's insane, you know, the fact that the guy speaking to me, they're all sitting at the same desk, but his voice is coming to me from the relative position, from his relative position. It makes sense to me. So I would assume you get less video fatigued if that would happen. So kind of next step.
It's a more natural interaction for the human brain to look and hear from the same direction, for sure.
And you also mentioned the collaborative spaces, like the hot desking, and I think that's going to be a huge thing. And I think we're going to see a focus on that. Will be for me, it will be exciting to see Microsoft's intake on that. You also spoke, hot desking. How do you schedule it, and how do James or Aviado really are not going to take your seat while you were gone for coffee for 5 minutes. I'm guessing there would be an interesting way of doing it, and hosting everything on one suite that is O365, not just Microsoft Teams, because everything is connected in my view. So it sounds like an amazing collaboration shop or toy tech store to be in. One of fun place. I love those, by the way. I love those where you get hands on everything you can see and touch and experience for yourself. But where can we meet you guys? Obviously, and how would someone schedule, not just drop by? How do you get like an entire tour at the booth, or a more specified tour at the booth?
Yeah, so we will have a pretty large sized booth that's in the UC hall, I believe, at ISC. I want to invite everyone to please come visit us. If you have a Microsoft account manager that you're working with in your company, you can ask them to actually schedule time for folks at the booth. So please work through Microsoft. I'll say I am pretty available. So I am ILYABU, Ilyabu, as my friends call me, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I'm a little overwhelmed by the number of messages I've received just in the last 24 hours with my new title, but please send me a message, and at the very least, I'll do my best to connect you with the right people who can help. If you have feedback on Teams Phone, Teams Rooms, anything in the calling devices area, those are two great mechanisms as well. I do my best to monitor others too, like Reddit and stuff, but I'm pretty much Ilyabu everywhere. And if you do come by the booth, the one ask I have is please give us your feedback. What's top of mind for you? What are the imperatives? What are your businesses looking to do in the next 12 months? And how can we help? We really believe we have a great opportunity with Teams to help in the calling devices and meetings area. We need your input to make sure we're putting our energy in the right places.
That is some statement, Ilya, some statement. And with that statement, and I will now leave you to your day. And it has been great seeing you here. And we're going to schedule a meeting at IC, and hoping I'm counting on a follow up on everything that was introduced, and perhaps show some of it during the interview. That could be awesome. So Ilya Bokshtain, here's hoping to collaborative, innovative, hybrid, awesome, fun ISE. See you then.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Aviad. Shalom Shabbat. Thank you for taking the time.
See you.